In our headlines on this Thursday, July 10th, here in South Korea. As anticipated, the central bank has decided to hold its benchmark interest rate steady at 2.5%, breaking a rate-cutting cycle that began back in October. And pundits are saying Samsung's latest smartphones that flip and fold have placed the company back into the global spotlight, given their slim design, lightweight, and multitasking upgrades. Meanwhile, former President Yunagal was rearrested and returned to jail earlier on this Thursday over concerns of evidence tampering amid fresh, disturbing allegations. We start with the Bank of Korea's decision to keep its rate unchanged at 2.5% amid a host of concerns both at home and abroad. Our correspondent Jamyang reports.
As widely expected, South Korea's central bank has held its benchmark interest rate steady at 2.5%. The Bank of Korea announced the decision on Thursday following the fifth Monetary Policy Committee meeting of the year, taking a break from a rate-cutting cycle after a cut of 25 basis points in May.
The domestic economy is expected to experience continued low growth for some time, while inflation remains on a stable trajectory, and there is considerable uncertainty related to trade negotiations. However, given the significant rise in capital area housing prices and household debt, coupled with the need to assess recent debt measures, it was deemed appropriate to maintain the current policy rate.
He also highlighted that it is necessary to cool expectations for a rate cut to prevent a rapid increase in housing prices in the Greater Seoul area and to better manage household debt. According to one expert, housing prices have been rising, especially in the main capital area.
The rising inflation in apartment price, especially in the Seoul Gangnam area, which has been showing more than 10% year-over-year rate of increase, and that is, I think, almost the highest in almost 20 years, except for 2017, 2018.
In response, the government last month implemented stricter mortgage regulations, capping mortgage loans for home purchases in the capital region and suspending home-backed loans for multi-homeowners. Notably, the rate freeze decision was unanimous. However, 4 out of 6 board members voiced the need for further rate cuts in the next 3 months, factoring in tariff negotiations. Regarding the future rate outlook, an expert said,
"Though not yet disbursed, supplementary budget funds are expected to make an impact in August. This increases the likelihood of a rate cut at the August meeting."
Conversely, the other 2 members advocated for maintaining the rate, citing the record-high 2 percentage point key rate gap that currently exists between South Korea and the U.S. The central bank predicts consumption to gradually recover, driven by the implementation of the supplementary budget, as well as improving economic sentiment thanks to eased political uncertainty. Governor Lee said he will take into consideration the effects of the extra budget once fully implemented in August. Meanwhile, U.S. tariff impositions pose great uncertainty on export prospects. The central bank emphasized that the outcomes of trade talks, especially regarding reciprocal tariffs on South Korea and specific items like semiconductors, will critically shape the country's export and growth path. The Bank of Korea said it'll maintain its accommodative monetary policy stance, closely monitoring domestic and external conditions before deciding on the timing of further rate cuts. 문지영, Arirang News.
The South Korean stock market continued to rally on this Thursday, driven by foreign investors. The benchmark KOSPI closed above the 3,180 mark, breaking its previous record for the year set a day earlier. According to market analysts, Thursday's closing also marks the highest in nearly 4 years. The tech-heavy Kosdaq also gained almost 1% from its previous session, ending just under 800. And the world's largest cryptocurrency by market capitalization, Bitcoin, hit a new high on Wednesday. According to US-based virtual currency exchange Coinbase, the price of a single Bitcoin was trading at $112,055 at around 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, up over 3% from 24 hours prior. Now, this marks the first time this cryptocurrency surpassed the 112,000 mark. On the tech front, as market pundits say, Samsung has been in the folding phone market longer than most of the other makers, and at its latest Unpacked event, it showcased its slimmest and lightest device to date. Our Ising has highlights.
The summer edition of Galaxy Unpacked 2025 was held in New York City on Wednesday, with expectations high over Samsung Electronics' latest releases. There, Samsung Electronics unveiled the latest generation of its Galaxy Z series smartphones, showcasing the company's slimmest and lightest foldable smartphones to date with their Galaxy Z Fold 7 and Galaxy Z Flip 7. Along with its new physical features, the company says the new smartphone comes with an upgraded camera and artificial intelligence capabilities.
Galaxy Z Fold 7 and Z Flip 7 represent the pinnacle of our innovation. This is more than just a new flip or fold. Galaxy AI has become your very own human-like AI companion, elevating the way you connect, create, and live every single day.
Samsung says the Galaxy Z Fold 7 is the thinnest and lightest model in the latest Z series. The phone measures just 8.9 millimeters when folded and 4.2 millimeters when unfolded. It weighs just 215 grams, making it even lighter than the Galaxy S25 Ultra, launched in January. Despite a reduction in size and weight, the Galaxy Z Fold 7 features a 6.5-inch external display and an 8-inch main display, with the inner display 11% larger than the previous model. It's also equipped with a 20-megapixel wide-angle camera, with Samsung improving its AI capabilities by enhancing cooperation with external partners like Google. Meanwhile, the clamshell-style Galaxy Z Flip 7 upgraded its display with slightly larger screens than its previous model and a slimmer and lighter build. And for those at the event, it was a chance to see how Samsung Electronics continues to improve in the competitive mobile phone industry.
I was very excited to come here today and see the unpack of the new Galaxy Flip 7. I'm very surprised by how elegant it looks. It's very lightweight, it's it's pocketability, and I'm most impressed about AI assistant. It is going to be very helpful in my everyday life.
Samsung also unveiled its latest Galaxy Watch 8. According to Samsung Electronics, the new Galaxy Fold and Flip models will officially launch worldwide on July 25th. 이승재, Arirang News.
President Jamyang has called for comprehensive measures to boost consumption. At a meeting with his senior aides on this Thursday, he shared a dire assessment of the current economic situation here, calling it, quote, very bad, particularly for small business owners and the vulnerable, whom he called capillaries for the Korean economy. Noting that the government's consumption vouchers will be distributed starting July 21st, he urged related ministries to seek consumption campaigns that make the most of the summer holiday. And speaking of the summer, he also called for effective strategies against heat-related repercussions. National Security Advisor Wee Sung-rak said Seoul and Washington see eye to eye on the need for an early summit, but have yet to agree on a date. Remarks to this end were shared upon his return home from the U.S. following talks with his American counterpart. Our correspondent Yoon Jung-min reports.
During his meeting with U.S. counterpart Marco Rubio in Washington, South Korea's top security advisor Wee Sung-rak suggested holding a summit between President Lee Jamyang and U.S. President Donald Trump as early as possible. However, no date has been set. According to Wee during a press briefing on Wednesday, upon returning from his 4-day trip to Washington, D.C.
I suggested holding a South Korea-U.S. summit as soon as possible to facilitate the process of making mutually beneficial agreements on pending issues. Secretary Rubio has agreed.
When it comes to new U.S. tariffs that are set to take effect on August 1st, we said the two sides will maintain close communication for a package deal.
Talks include issues across the board, including trade, investment, purchasing goods, and security. We suggested taking all this into a package to make progress in negotiations.
South Korea was tagged with levies of 25%. We says the goal is to eliminate the tariffs, and if not possible, then to minimize them. When asked about the allies' defense cost sharing, the Korean security advisor said the special measures agreement was not addressed specifically, though discussions did include defense spending as a whole. Noting South Korea's annual contribution of more than $1.1 billion, he said the country is also upping its overall defense spending. U.S. President Trump has recently insisted that Seoul was underpaying for military protection. We stressed the need to resolve pending issues within a broader framework of promoting the alliance. Eyes are on how the value of the bilateral alliance that has lasted for over 7 decades can be preserved in the face of pressure on the allies' defense cost sharing and tariff threats. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
Right, and with regard to the potential risks from Mr. Trump's tariff campaign, my colleague Kim Do-yeon takes a look at their broader implications on Korean export items ranging from cars to chips to even ramyeon.
25%, that's the tariff rate set to take effect August 1st on South Korea imports into the U.S. as of now. But Korea's exports largely consist of goods like automobiles, which already face a 25% tariff regardless of origin. So how does this stack up against competitors like Japan and Germany? According to the Korea International Trade Association, over 30% of exports to the U.S. from both Korea and Japan are cars. Experts say a uniform tariff means little changes in the playing field between these countries. The bigger concern, Mexico.
Mexico benefits from lower rates under the USMCA when it comes to cars and auto parts, giving it a price edge over Korea.
And with similar tariffs set to hit other Korean exports like semiconductors and pharmaceuticals, exchange rates become critical.
If the Korean won weakens against the dollar by 10%, it effectively offsets a 10% tariff. That means U.S. prices don't rise, and their trade deficit doesn't shrink.
As for reciprocal tariffs, some Korean strongholds like K-beauty products and ramen are also in the crosshairs. K-beauty tops U.S. imports by country, pushing Korean firms to consider local production.
Companies like Amore and LG don't have factories in the U.S. yet, so they're exploring M&As to quickly establish local plants.
Meanwhile, ramen tells a different story. 농심's 신라면 is made in the U.S. dodging tariffs, but Jamyang's 불닭, still fully exported from Korea, will likely see higher prices. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, in Malaysia this week, diplomatic delegations, including from South Korea, are gathered there for the broader ASEAN-related meetings on regional peace and prosperity. Our foreign affairs correspondent Oh Soo-young has more.
South Korea is set to adopt a new action plan on cooperating with Southeast Asian countries at this week's series of high-level meetings in Kuala Lumpur. According to Seoul's Foreign Ministry, South Korea is joining the annual ASEAN-related foreign ministers' meetings on Thursday and Friday as a dialogue partner country to the 10-member regional bloc. During a meeting between Seoul and ASEAN, the two sides will adopt a plan of action laying out concrete steps to implement the comprehensive strategic partnership reached upon their 35th anniversary of dialogue relations last year. They're expected to focus on deepening security, economic and cultural cooperation. First Vice Foreign Minister Park Yoon-joo is leading the delegation, as the new Foreign Minister nominee Cho Hyun has not been officially confirmed by Parliament. Pak will also attend the ministerial meeting of ASEAN and +3 nations, including Korea, Japan and China, a separate meeting with Mekong countries, the East Asia Summit and the ASEAN Regional Forum. Concerns over tariffs and regional tensions are expected to dominate most discussions, as the United States this week sent letters to 14 countries threatening to initiate the so-called reciprocal tariffs by August 1st. If no deal is reached, the Trump administration says it will impose 25% duties on South Korea, Japan and Malaysia, 32% on Indonesia, 36% on Cambodia and Thailand, and 40% on Laos and Myanmar. In a draft communique revealed to AFP, ASEAN nations warned that unilateral tariff actions are destabilizing economic recovery and deepening global divisions. Arriving Thursday for his first Asia trip since taking office, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio is expected to defend America's push to, quote, rebalance its trade relationships, according to officials in Washington. The attendance of Chinese and Russian foreign ministers Wang Yi and Sergei Lavrov is also drawing attention amid their shaky relations with the US. Beyond tariffs, ministers will address rising tensions on the Thailand-Cambodia border, the ongoing civil war in Myanmar, and territorial disputes in the South China Sea. Meanwhile, South Korea is expected to reiterate its support for peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula and emphasize ASEAN's role in coordinated regional diplomacy. ASEAN's annual meeting of foreign ministers is the only multilateral forum North Korea has attended in the region. However, there's a chance Pyongyang will skip this year's meeting, given its severed diplomatic ties with the host country Malaysia. Oh Seong, Arirang News.
South Korea's top military officer sat down separately with his US and Japanese counterparts on this Thursday, ahead of the trilateral chiefs of defense meeting tomorrow, that is Friday. Now, this regular exchange is the first under the Jamyang administration and is also the first in 15 years that sees the Japanese chief of staff of the Joint Staff visiting Seoul. Sources believe the trilateral talks will focus on the three-way security cooperation, including the prospects of holding a multi-domain Freedom Edge exercise in September. If held, the exercise will mark the third such defense training since the first in June last year. Also, on the defense front, a former senior advisor to U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Dan Cadwell, has recommended a reduction in America's troop presence here in South Korea to some 10,000 from the current 28,500. Now, his recommendation was included in a report released on Wednesday by the U.S. think tank Defense Priorities, along with his observation that South Korea does not offer, quote, unrestricted contingency access in the event of a conflict against American interests here in this part of the world. He also pointed out that the U.S. boots on the ground in East Asia should be reorganized to contain China. South Korea was also assessed to be capable of defending itself from North Korea in the short term, given its conventional military advantage. In other news, former President Yunagal has been rearrested over concerns of evidence tampering amid fresh disturbing allegations. Our Choi Soo-young explains.
Former South Korean President Yunagal has been arrested again. It has been 124 days, or about 4 months, since the court cancelled his previous arrest on March 8th. On Wednesday, after a 6-hour, 40-minute hearing and more than 5 hours of review, a court decided to issue an arrest warrant or fears that he could destroy evidence. The special counsel team said Yoon ordered the deletion of secret phone records and made a fake martial law statement, which he later threw away. It seems that the court agreed this could be considered evidence tampering. Last Sunday, the counsel team formally accused Yoon of 5 major charges. Those charges are that, on December 3rd last year, Yoon held a partial cabinet meeting to simulate approval for martial law, that he wrote a false martial law statement and later destroyed it, that he spread false information to foreign media, that he ordered the deletion of secure phone records, and that he used the Presidential Security Service to stop the police from arresting him. The special counsel team is now allowed to hold Yoon in custody for up to 20 days for investigation. Yoon is being held at Seoul Detention Center. All his presidential-level security has been revoked. He will undergo the same procedures as regular inmates and will be placed in a solidarity cell. There's no air conditioning and electric fans are restricted to limited hours. The investigation now shifts focus on foreign aggression crime charges. Yoon is accused of trying to provoke North Korea by sending a drone to Pyongyang to justify declaring martial law. Unconfirmed testimony from military sources claim the president gave a direct order to send a drone into North Korea. However, due to military secrets laws, specific details have not yet been revealed. Jamyang, Arirang News.
In the Middle East, Hamas has agreed to release 10 hostages amid ongoing efforts to put in place a ceasefire in Gaza. The agreement was announced in a statement by the Palestinian militant group that added truce talks remain an uphill battle. Among the sticking points, Hamas pointed to the flow of humanitarian assistance, pullout of Israeli troops from Gaza, and a tangible pledge for lasting truce. The current ceasefire negotiations are being mediated by the US, Qatar and Egypt and began this past weekend.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. The Houthi rebel group in Yemen said it has sunk a Greek-operated cargo ship in the Red Sea, killing at least 4 people. This is the second ship the Iran-aligned group has attacked this week. Yemen's Houthis released footage on Wednesday of the Greek-operated carrier Eternity Sea coming under attack on July 7th. The attack resulted in at least 4 confirmed casualties, 6 crew members were rescued by EU-coordinated forces, and 15 are still missing, possibly captured by the Houthis. The Houthi military spokesperson claimed their naval unit assisted survivors, providing medical care and transferring them to safety. Europe's top human rights court has ruled that Russia is responsible for atrocities and violations of international law in Ukraine, including the 2014 downing of Malaysian Airlines flight MH17. The European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg announced on Wednesday a unanimous ruling finding Russia formally responsible for shooting down flight MH17 with a Russian Buk missile, resulting in the deaths of all 298 people on board, most of them Dutch citizens. The verdict represents the first international court decision attributing state-level responsibility to Russia for the tragedy. Alongside MH17, the court ruled that Russia systematically violated human rights, including the use of sexual violence, torture, and abductions across Ukraine since 2014. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov dismissed the judgment, saying, "We won't abide by it. We consider it void." Ukraine welcomed the symbolic judgment, hailing it as a historic and undeniable victory for the country. AI chipmaker NVIDIA became the first public company to reach a $4 trillion market valuation on Wednesday, briefly peaking at $164.42 per share before settling at approximately $3.97 trillion at the end of trading. The company's valuation has nearly quadrupled since June 2023, far outpacing competitors such as Apple and Microsoft. The peak reflects investor confidence in NVIDIA's upcoming Blackwell platform and new chip lines. The target price for the company has been raised, citing long-term momentum. The achievement makes NVIDIA the world's most valuable company. A study published on July 9th in Science Robotics by scientists at Johns Hopkins University reported that their AI-driven robot has successfully removed a pig's gallbladder completely unassisted. The AI-driven SRT-H responded in real time to unexpected situations and verbal commands. Trained on hours of surgical videos, the system mastered the 17-step procedure of a surgery with 100% accuracy across 8 trials. Although slower than a human surgeon, it was even able to correct errors and adapt to changes. Researchers aim to expand trials to human surgeries within the next decade. Choi Ji-hee, Arirang News.
Scorching weather is heating up the whole country. A heatwave warning has been issued for 4 days in a row. The daytime temperature in Seoul rose up to 37 degrees Celsius, and it was 38 degrees in Gwangmyeong. However, along the East Coast, the heat slowed down, with Gangneung staying at 30 degrees during the day today. The heat will be strong day and night for the time being, especially from the morning to the afternoon. The UV index will be high in most parts of the country. It's important to stay in the shade when the sun shines strongly. Tomorrow morning, Seoul and Jeju will start off at 25 degrees, Chuncheon 20 degrees, Gyeongju 22 degrees. Daily highs move up to 36 degrees in Seoul, 29 degrees in Gyeongju. Rain is forecast only for Jeju Island tomorrow and Saturday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. As always, thank you for watching.